So this author's comments is that since the inflation just dropped just a little bit because of the consumer price index, that means that the Bank of Canada has to respond by cutting the interest rates.
No, they don't. And the other thing is the Bank of Canada is slow to act now.
Yeah.
They were slow to act to increase the interest rates, and they fucking went crazy. Like, I just don't understand why they did that. But they were slow. Like, we were telling, like, us, even not we, like, but I think most people were saying when they had the low interest rates, it was killing our market. You know, the Bank of Canada didn't do anything for the longest period of time. Then all of a sudden they tell us, so the Bank of Canada are liars. I'll put it out there. I think the Bank of Canada are liars. They told us when I got my mortgage, we can't increase interest rates more than 1%. And what do? They increase it 4% or 4.25% that year. What happened to your 1%? So I factored in 2% thinking I was smart. Well, nobody would have anticipated they would have increased interest rates
to 4,
but unprecedented amount. And I think I would say they want people to get bankrupt, but they're doing their fair share. They're doing their job, trying to push people along. And don't even talk to me about the federal government with their last announcement. We'll get into that in a second, but I don't want to get too fired up too quickly.
MDC, I'm curious, right? So for them to increase the interest rates, let's say everything is equal, like on a regular, where the Bank of Canada, we're doing things ethically and we want to increase the interest rates. How long does that typically take for them to come to a decision to say, you know what, based on XYZ factors, this is what we believe?
Well, it's been working for a while. So it's almost been a year. I think they've been looking at these numbers, decrease. But when we're talking, when the Urban Nation report came out, they were saying to us, the Bank of Canada still wants to wait just a little bit longer. They're taking their time. So there's no set schedule, I think, Owen. I don't think they just look and they say, well, we have to wait this amount of time. But we know now they're taking their time, even though all the numbers are even according. So I do agree with this guy that the numbers are showing they should cut rates. But again, one of the fear is that, that if they cut the rates too quickly, that our Canadian dollar would get decreased. He doesn't talk about the Canadian dollar.
The depreciation of the Canadian dollar.
He doesn't talk about that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about that too.
And the second thing was, again, like, will that increase? The fear is that, again, the housing prices will go up, and then affordability will be decreased, and then we're back to if they cut, and then they have to reverse their cut. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen to the way that some people are anticipating. Yeah. Right. I just think the market is now finally figuring things out. A little bit of easing will help most Canadians. I think most Canadians are struggling right now to even make grocery bills. Yeah. Let alone we're worried about buying another house.
On that grocery stuff, I actually had a TikTok go viral. I came from the grocery. I went to Loblaws, and I spent like, I think $65, and it was like 4 or 5 items, right? And take this in, a bottle of Heinz ketchup is like $7.99 now.
What?
Yeah. Heinz ketchup, $7.99. And then the lower tier, you have like maybe it's Welch's, Kelch's or something like that. It's like another ketchup brand, right?
Yeah.
It's like $5.
Is that the Canadian brand? The Hunt's? I don't know what no, not Heinz. There's like another one. I think it's Hunt's or something like that. Anyway.
Exactly, right? And then you have like the President's Choice ones, which is like $3.49, right? But typically back in the day, man, even for like the low squeeze bottles, like $2.49 for a ketchup.
Yeah.
Right? But $7.99 for condiment. Right? Then you take like a full rack of chicken with like the 10 drumsticks. That's like $19, $20 now. That used to be $8, $9. Salmon. This is how I know.
And it's farm salmon.
Farm salmon. Ugh. This is how I know Galen Weston is a crook, man. $25 for a little piece of salmon, bro. I mean, it's ridiculous what's going on here. Like everything has shifted. It's so hard to live in Canada now. And I also want to get into the new policy changes with the
capital gains increase.
Capital gains. I want to get your insights into it. But before moving on to that, right?
You really want to get me hot, eh?
Hey man, this is the DC talks. We're so talk.
Yeah, no. Well, just on your point too, like even going to Costco. It used to be Costco. Used to be like, you could save some money.
Cheaper, yeah.
And I think Natalie and I used to spend like, we get like a cart. It'd be like every time we go, it was about $450
for a whole family, right?
For a family, yeah. And we go there. We do like, we replenish all the things in our pantry, right? And some things like goods and stuff too, but. The last few times, there's been nothing under $800. And we're like, what the hell do we spend? At one point, we went in, it was $1,100. And I'm like, $1,100. What did I spend $1,100?
Yeah.
and at Costco. And I'm like, oh, so we're kind of like, so after we did that purchase, we're like, now we're very cautious of what we're buying. And we thought we were then too, but it was just like our usual items. And then it went up so fast. What I have a problem with is like, there are these people in there, and, you know, like, again, we make good money. So it's like, you know, for us, it hurts, but it's not to the point that we're struggling to make ends meet. I was listening to somebody read a Twitter post, and this is a mother. I think she had a 9-year-old daughter, and she's talking about how she's struggling. She goes, I won't tell my daughter that. I'm like, yeah, I'm not eating because I can't afford to feed both of us. And she goes, the only reason why I haven't put a bullet in my head is that because of her daughter. And that's the only reason why. She said, because I don't want to put her through this torture. People are almost opting to kill themselves to live in Canada. What happened to Canada? What happened?
Canada I moved to.
And it's not even affordability. Then I'm like, I don't know if you take Ubers or not. And I still talk to like immigrants that come in, they drive Ubers, and I love them. But thank God that we have them here to do that. And some of them are like, you know, schools. And you talk to some of the students or some of the cab drivers stuff too, and I'm like, and they're visually upset to come into Canada. They're like, we were sold wrong goods.
Yeah.
They told us how good Canada was. We got here, like, it was nothing that they told us about. Nothing at all. And now the budget just came out, and all of us Canadians are in here too. I'm like, do you not people see now what's going on with Canada? Do you not see that Trudeau is now trying to burn Canada down before he leaves office? He's intentionally fucking us.
He knows he's leaving. He knows
he's like that piece of fucking shit. I don't give a shit. That piece of shit is ruining our good country. And if I get banned for this, I don't give a shit. Justin Trudeau is a piece of shit. And if I can't stand my liberal friends would say they think they're not in the 1%. I'm like, do you make money? You're in the 1%. He's screwing you. They think they're middle class. There is no more middle class.
There's none. Unless
you're on welfare. Welfare people are middle class now. Like, do you see what he's done to our country? He didn't know how to balance a checkbook. Stephen Harper warned us about this before he was out of office, that Justin Trudeau doesn't know what he's doing with a budget.
Man, I miss Stephen Harper.
Policies. So like before he comes out with this budget, and one of the things that we're talking about, my financial planner, you know, Jason Pereira, you've been on the show. You love Jason.
Oh man.
He called me yesterday. I was working. We were doing pictures and videos. So I didn't even get a chance to open up, to look anything into the budget. He was furious. Now, to get Jason mad is very hard to do. Well, certain things, because he's very logical. And he just started, me and Julia were in the car from our video, and he started swearing. And I'm like, what's going on?
He goes,
you didn't want to look at the budget? I'm like, dude, no, I didn't have a chance. He's like, Justin Trudeau just increased 80% of capital gains. I'm like, what? So I'm like, wait, what do you mean? He goes, for the first $250,000, you're still going to get, you know, charged at the 52% or 50%. He goes, but after that, it's going to be 80%. So effectively, after your first $250,000 you make on capital gains, you're going to be taxed at 40% of your gains.
So let's do an example, right? Yeah. So let's say I made $1 million.
Yeah. Well, I give him an example. I said, okay, so I had a rental property.
Your duplex.
So I said, yeah. So my sixplex. I said, say I made, if I sold it to, and I make, after the expenses, I'm at $2 million. How much money would I spend in capital gains? He's like, well, if you made $2 million over here, let's be like in the current rules. Okay. And these rules come effect as of June 1st. So if the closing happens in May 31st, your capital gains on the $2 million would be $500,000, roughly around $500,000, which means you get to keep about 1.5. He goes, after that, if it's after June 1st, now your capital gains, you got another 350,000 around there in there. So now you're taking less than 1.1. So almost half of all of your gains